In Islam, eclipses are seen as a random phenomenon from amongst the signs from Allah. It is not a natural occurrence that can be calculated and predicted many years in advance. As a result, Muslims are required to observe special prayers whenever it occurs. It says in Sahih Bukhari 3203, the relevant section underlined in red. Then he addressed the people referring to the solar and lunar eclipses, saying, "These are two signs amongst the signs of Allah, and they do not eclipse because of anyone's death or life. So if you see them, hasten for the prayer." The hadith about praying whenever there is an eclipse and that they are the signs from Allah are many. Here are a few more. The one from Abu Dawood mentions Muhammad was bewildered and believed because it causes dread in people, they should pray. The eclipse prayers have special names and a method for performing them, different from the usual prayers. The solar eclipse prayer is called Salat al-Khusuf, and the lunar eclipse prayer is called Salat al-Khusuf. Here is a poster explaining how Muslims ought to pray the special eclipse prayers. In connection to eclipses and the need to pray whenever it occurs, it is interesting that within Islam there are superstitions around the sun and shade. For example, there are hadiths that say Muhammad said not to sit in between the sun and the shade because that is where Satan sits. This is mentioned in a popular Muslim website called Islam Web. The link is in the description. The specific hadith mentioned on the website is from Muslim Ahmad 15421, where it says, the Prophet forbade sitting between the sun and the shade. He said, it is the seat or sitting of the shaitan, the devil. There are many other hadiths in which Muhammad prohibited people being in between the sun and the shade. In the ancient world, for example in Greece, before the scientific inquiry from 700 BC, and in Rome, many believed an eclipse was a punishment or an abandonment. The English word eclipse is derived from the Greek eklipo, meaning disappearance, leave, or abandonment. Therefore, eclipses were seen as a terrifying event throughout human history. The sun or the moon was seen as an entity of supreme importance, crucial to their existence. So much so, they were worshipped as deities. As a result, there are many eclipse myths from around the world. The myths feature a celestial being consuming the sun or moon, an easy assumption to make when viewing the eclipse from Earth. According to ancient Babylonian culture going back as far as 2300 BC, they believed an eclipse could foretell the death of the king. They would perform a ritual called Sarpuhi in order to preempt the monarch's fate. As far as 1600 BC within the ancient Chinese culture, eclipses were thought to foretell the future emperor. They also believed it could trigger political and military events. Within the Judeo-Christian traditions, although Genesis 1:14 talks about the sun and the moon and their associated influence on earth in the role they provide in light and darkness, and that they are a sign from God, which according to Jewish commentaries by Rabbi Shlomo, a commentary which remains a key basis for contemporary rabbinic scholarship and interpretation of the Talmud and the Hebrew Bible, says the verse also refers to the times when the luminaries are eclipsed, that it can be an omen, but concludes by citing Jeremiah 10:2, "Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." In the NIV, it is translated as, "Do not learn the ways of the nations, or be terrified by signs in the heavens, though the nations are terrified by them." Because nations have been terrified by eclipses, special ritual prayers during an eclipse is nothing new. Eclipse prayers rituals have existed and continue to exist in many cultures and religions other than in Islam. For example, in the Rig Veda, some of the oldest manuscripts of which are dated to around 1500 BC, there are myths attached to eclipses. As a consequence, ever since Hindus have been observing it as a special occasion, taking a vow of chastity before the eclipse begins. Some will not eat during an eclipse and will chant prayers until the eclipse is over, before taking a ritual bath and going out to give charitable donations. Tibetan Buddhism, also known as Theravada Buddhism, is one of the oldest forms of Buddhism dating from 300 BC. They believe eclipse affects one's good or bad deeds, which are multiplied several-fold, so they carry out more charitable and good deeds before and during an eclipse. Within paganism, the eclipse is seen as a new beginning and a sign of growth. For example, within Druidry, practiced since 400 BC, see it as a communion between the genders, as an eclipse represents the man and the woman coming together. During an eclipse, they would gather in a circle around a fire and perform special rituals. Solar eclipses occur when the moon passes between the Earth and the Sun, leaving a moving region of shadow on Earth's surface. Lunar eclipses occur when the Earth passes between the Sun and the Moon, casting a shadow on the Moon. Partial eclipses are shown here for clarity. Due to modern science, the calculation of eclipses are predictable and can be done many years in advance. For example, from the Royal Museum's Greenwich website, it predicts exactly to the minute when the next eclipse will be. For the next solar eclipse visible from the UK, it will be on the 25th of October 2022, and after that, the next one will be on the 23rd of September 2090. The next lunar eclipse visible from the UK will be on 16th of May 2022. So in conclusion, there are special prayers in Islam for eclipses as a sign from Allah. However, these events are natural phenomena that can be predicted many years in advance. There is nothing supernatural or random about its occurrences where prayers need to be performed until it passes. Within Islam, there are superstitions around the sun and shade. Many pagan cultures have rituals associated with eclipses, and within these ancient cultures, it was seen as a terrifying event, foretelling events and signs of a new beginning. The need to pray within Islam whenever an eclipse occurs is just from another one of the many superstitions and myths appropriated from these ancient cultures.